We look into the names concept in Excel. So what is basically a name, how we'll be defining the name, and how we'll be editing or deleting the defined names, and how we'll be applying those in the formulas. So we are basically defining a name for a range. A range is a selection of cells. A selection of cells will not be continuous. It can be something like, say, from A1 to A5 and from C1 to C5. So for this we will be defining a name. So let us look into how we'll be defining a name for a range. So let's have some data first. Say I have some names here. And some sales data for these people. So So let's have this as a sample data. We'll start defining names for cells in this data. So the first way to define a name is to actually get into the formula tab, which is present here. You have something called as define name here. First, let me select some data. And I'll be defining name for this data. Say I'll define the name as test1. So this is the name which we have defined for the range of cells from F5 to I5 for these cells. The next way to define a name is actually you can just mention it in the name box, which is present here. So let's give some name for this cells, which is from F6 to I6. Let me select this and I will be defining the name here as test2. I'll be typing the name and I will be just giving the enter key, and now the name is defined for these cells. So these are the two ways which you'll be defining by manually entering the name for the range. There is another way which you can define, wherein you'll have the name in the data already. Like say you want to give the name as quarter1 for this data, and quarter2 for this column of data, quarter3 for this column, and quarter4. So you'll be having the names in this data either as the topmost row or the leftmost column, like this, or you'll have somewhere like this, like the bottommost row, or something like the rightmost column. if you have somewhere like this, you can just define it by selecting those. We'll see how to do that. For that, you have to first select the data. Get into the Formulas tab, create from selection. Which one you want to have? Say I want to have the topmost row, so I'll be giving under the topmost row now. So I have defined the name. Similarly, in the same way, you can give the names using the leftmost column too, as we have seen these options here. You have topmost row, leftmost column. You can select. If I just want to cross verify, say we have to check whether quarter 3 has been defined for this particular column. So if you just select this data, the name which has been defined for this data will be displayed in the name box here. So similarly for quarter 4, let's select this, quarter 4 is displayed. So it's set for the data which we define now. So the next we'll be seeing how to edit or delete the names now. So if you just want to have a look at what are the names which you have defined already, so that you can use it in the formula, or if you want to edit or delete the names, you have to get into the same section like name manager. In name manager, you will have the list of names which you have defined already. If you want to delete, you have to just select and give the delete. And if you want to just edit, you can just get into the edit option and you can reselect the range. So this is how you do. And next we'll see how to use names in a formula. We have defined the names, and how we'll be using that in the formula. Say we have the basic formula. Let's take the basic formula as an example. Have some data here, say and I'm going to find the sum for this data. I want to find the sum from H5 to H8. So in that case, I have to mention the name quarter 3. So I'll be just giving the name so that I need not select somewhere here. In case of large selection of cells, and if you just want to define a formula, or you're going to use large selections of cells in formula, in those cases it will be very much useful. So I have got the sum. So instead of defining a range manually, you have defined the name earlier and you're just using it here. So it's much useful in cases of large selection of data. And the next thing, different cases where you have actually written the formula earlier. Say I have written the formula now, sum, I have calculated it, but I'll be defining the names later for that particular range. So let's have a separate data for that. Say I have So I have defined the formula sum for this particular selection of cells here. We have found the result, but later on I am defining the names for this particular range. See, I am defining here as test 10. So here, if you see, it will not get reflected automatically. It is still LA to L11. So now just get it to this formulas tab, and here in this formulas tab, under define name, you'll have something called as apply names. So if you're just giving these apply names, you're applying the name in the formula which you have defined. So let's see what happens when we apply it. I'm selecting test 10, giving OK, and now it's done. So we have applied the names in this formula. So that's all about the names concept.